All right. I think I am now live on YouTube. Well, at least on one of them. Uh, why not the other though? What is going on? I said, hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on? But seriously, what's going on? Why is this not working? Live. Go live. Hey, hi, hello there. Howdy, howdy. My vertical stream is not wanting to. Oh, wait a minute. Sweet. I think we are officially live across all of the two platforms that I stream on. So that is a good thing. All right, let's get the show on the road. So, what was I doing last stream? Was that Friday? I think Friday I started exploring Flex a little bit more in depth because I think it's has a scripting language that comes with it that makes it really nice to automatically handle configuring data structs upon obviously like registering your structs, that kind of thing. And then we went on a tangent and kind of explored some general C++ performance exploration of iterating over pointers versus iterating over raw data, and then kind of looking at a little bit of the comparison of unique pointers versus shared pointers. And had a good conversation. I was able to create a YouTube short out of it, but I didn't realize the audio was so bad during that stream. And I think part of the problem is I have a tendency to speak loud when I'm excited about talking about something I like. And I don't think my mic setting was set up to allow me to talk so loud. So I'm going to do a test real quick. And I apologize for your guys' ears, but I want to make sure the audio is good, even when I am talking loud and excitedly. Which, even right now, I'm kind of talking a little loud. I could talk a little quieter, but I do want to make sure I have somewhat good audio. All right, it's test time. All right, so here I am talking loudly and excitedly about things I know. All right, that sounds pretty good. All right, so now here I am talking quieter and just kind of relaxed and enjoying what I'm doing. Okay, I think the audio is better. I don't know what happened Friday. The audio was just terrible. Hey Rodrigo, you started to play Baldur's Gate 3 today. You made a wizard. It's going to be fun. Spent an hour making the character. You only spent an hour making the character? Are you even trying? I actually hopped on Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough with a friend of mine last night, and we are destroying everything. We're even playing honor mode. Like, once you've played Baldur's Gate 3 enough times, you basically learn how the game works, and it becomes so easy to just like make super powerful broken builds. But yeah, it's that's awesome you're playing that. I do want to play Baldur's Gate 3 on stream at some point, but I really want to get Baldur's Gate 1 completed because I have never completed it. So tomorrow we will be doing Baldur's Gate 1. I did see they might be remaking Baldur's Gate 2 though. And if that's the case, I really need to get Baldur's Gate 2 beaten before that happens. So we shall see what happens there. But in the meantime, I've got some additional coding exploration to do with Flex. I was able to, after the stream this weekend, at least verify that my thoughts on being able to use like a Flex scripting file with like declarative syntax here will actually load into my application. And I do that somewhere. And I also found out you load it by calling run script. So this line right here, script run file, that will, assuming you register your structs with the Flex API, which I do somewhere right here. So assuming you do something like this, you can then specify position max speed somewhere here. So there's max speed of 450, position 10, 20, 140, 40, etc. Doing that should yield, oops, or not. I apologize. Maybe I should have built you first. Oh, also, we're back to drinking monsters. Should I start doing a what is it, like a day one of asking Monster to sponsor me, day two of asking Monster to sponsor me? You're shooting for the moon, Dark. Oh, I forgot. I'm getting my my engine and my game mixed up. There we go. Entity ID 0. I swear this is working. Oh wait, am I building in release? Ah, I'm building in release. Okay, there we go. Wait, I thought I was printing. Oh, I forgot I gotta pass in the flex demo flag. Flex demo. There we go. So demo spawn 3 entities. So if I pull up the file, we have a demo scene with player ship, scout alpha, scout beta. So there's 3 entities. The entity demo scene.player ship has a position of 10, 20 and a max speed of 520. So that's working. And if I change these values without having to recompile, I should be able to now see position is 100 and or X is 100, Y is 120. So this, I think this does basically what I've been needing from my configuration. And it does it without me having to write custom parsing code. I literally just register with the Flex API right here, and it parses. All I had to do was call the run script function off of the Flex world object. So I'm going to at least explore this a little more, kind of get my ideas sketched out, and we'll see if that's the way I want to go. G and G, what's that? I'm not sure what you're asking. So the question becomes, you're asking what this is. This is an outline of what my game might eventually look like. Maybe. Potentially. Probably not. But maybe it will. I'm trying to like resize this so the player ends up in the center of the screen. Yeah, like that. There we go. Okay. And the other thought I had was if I needed to roll in this event system and action system into the Flex API, I don't think the events need it, but my actions I want to be configurable as well and be able to define some defaults. So that might need to roll into Because I might do something like... Because you can imagine this is the game. Ooh, I don't know if Flex supports commenting. Assume it does. That looks like a comment. All right, I know the extension is out of date, but maybe it's good enough to give me a little bit of help. Does this support formatting? Format document? Crap. That's the only downside to FlexScript. It's not like a super well-known scripting language or a super popular one. So I am kind of left to having to make sure I keep things formatted myself, which I'm not as big a fan of, but maybe down the road, you know, I can also support Lua. I don't know. Yeah, it's at least the syntax highlighting makes it a little readable. The big issue is it's like 4 years out of date. So it probably supports a version of Flex that doesn't even exist anymore. Because honestly, I bet I could just swap this to like say like, hey, this is C or C++. Ooh, I don't want the red squigglies of death though. No. Okay, maybe not. Anyway, with these actions, I'm wondering if this is say a demo scene, then I could do like action map. And then it defines, I would define an action. Okay, so this would be like saying, hey, jump is an action. It would have a name. Oh man, these are almost like components. I don't know if that's... Maybe it's lowercase. Jump. Jump. As an action. This is a entity. I don't know if this is... I am on Twitch. Wait, what do you mean? You should move to Twitch. I am on Twitch. Aren't there like language agnostic formatters with language? Oh, you might be right. I am aware of a an extension called Prettier code formatter. I think supports a number of languages, so maybe I'll try that at some point down the road. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to stick to Flex or not. We'll see. What am I working on? Currently, I'm just working on tinkering. I'm not really building towards anything specifically. I mean, maybe, hopefully, building up my my game here. The usual spiel here is I kind of demoed up a game in Godot called Briarthorn. and it's essentially, or the plan is potentially to be either like a turn-based tactical RPG or more like a real-time roguelite, something like that. With the idea being that you have different aircraft that you could fly top down. So this is just your tactical view. I'm not doing like 3D aircraft or like real combat or anything like that. And the idea is to, take on enemies, engage in different scenarios, maybe a little bit of puzzle solving while you're in the middle of combat kind of thing. Um, Use your aircraft's capabilities, offenses, defensives, radar capability to determine what's out there, who's an enemy, who's a friend, maybe who's lying to you about who's an enemy or a friend, and then like beat the engagement, whatever that means, whether that's like destroy a target or survive a waves of enemies kind of thing. And, just kind of your general roguelite progression system, maybe get to a boss level engagement, collect items, get rewards, so on and so forth. I'm speaking vaguely because it's not set in stone exactly what I want to do yet. But before I do any of this, so this was scripted in Godot, uh, but I don't want to. I don't want to do Godot myself, mainly because I'm more experienced in C++, so it's a little quicker and easier for me to understand a C++ API than to figure out how Godot's doing everything under the hood. So right now I have been exploring different like architectural options for my game. Do I use raw data structs? Do I use a object-oriented inheritance hierarchy? Do I use an entity component system? So currently I am looking at an entity component system that's pre-built, that comes with all kinds of features, and I'm honestly just trying to decide if those features are worth using or if it's just too much. Using Raylib under the hood, so Raylib for graphics, event handling, and then everything else is kind of up in the air. I'm not even opposed to using a framework that provides all of these solutions. So, like, I'm aware that Qt exists, Qt with QML, Qt Quick. The slight downside to that is the LGPL license, but I can still like sell a commercial game with it, so it's not the end of the world. And I do want my game to be customizable, moddable. So I'm not opposed to like handing it over to my users. I mean, you paid for it, right? To, do what you want with it, right? There's a newer framework out there that I also have an eye on called Slint, which is written in Rust of all languages, which is kind of cool. I'm not a Rust dev. I could maybe tell you what Rust looks like if I saw it, but that's about it. But this is written in Rust, and it does front-end graphics just like Qt, but it's a lot smaller, a lot lighter weight, and all of the scripting that it does, they automatically generate it into the native code of your choice. And they support Rust, C++, Python, and JavaScript, TypeScript, I think, out of the box, which I think is really cool. So I might continue to explore this too, because this would give me that kind of that configuration option, and it would automatically convert to code. It also has live, like hot reloading, so any changes I make to its scripting file, it would automatically update as like a hot reloaded application window. So I'm not opposed to exploring that either, but I'm just exploring. I'm in no rush personally to get the game done. And so I would like to figure out what my foundation for developing this game will be that isn't Godot. And then be able to just get my head down and start typing, right? I don't want to be 10, 20, 30,000 lines of code into this project and then realize this isn't working out for me and then have to like refactor a bunch. So I'd like to just kind of get something set in stone before I start hitting the ground running. Remind you of Z-Type. Interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard of that. Hey Devtron, how's it going? Yeah, I have dreams for games. I have a dream for another game, but that game is going to be a lot more involved, and I have never made a game before. So I am trying my best to limit the scope of this game as much as possible. And I don't necessarily want to spend all my effort building a game engine and then not making the game. I do have Awin, which is a game engine, so I'm building that sometimes just to take a break from the game dev side of things to talk more C++. But yeah, I'm not. Nothing is carved in stone, so I'm kind of just exploring, seeing what this is all about. You know, it'd be really funny. What if I ended up landing on using Slint and decide that C++ isn't the way, and I become a Rust dev? Wouldn't that be something? GUI test, like it even has automatic UI testing, which is kind of cool. Supports all the platforms I want to support. I do want to support WebAssembly for itch.io because I think I can release games as WebAssembly on that website, which would be kind of cool, especially for like letting people do live demos. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm just kind of tinkering. SK Signet. Oh, I'm also, you know, and maybe it kills me they haven't announced this, or they announced this but they haven't released anything yet. But I am also keeping my eyes on a new game engine coming out called Fluorite. Fluorite is a game engine that uses Flutter, which is written in Dart, which is a super cross platform, single code base, single configuration, builds for all the platforms. I think Dart is garbage collected, but I still think it like compiles to native machine code. But it has a ECS system written in C++, and it's developed by Toyota. It's developed by a car company because Toyota needs, you know, touch displays, and they needed a framework they could use that would be easy for them to implement these touch displays. So apparently they landed on Flutter and then decided to integrate it with other tools like powered by Google's filament renderer. I don't know anything about the filament renderer. To make a console grade game engine with Flutter. So I'm kind of excited to see what comes of this. So if if this ever gets released, I will definitely be streaming the exploration of this game engine because it looks kind of promising. I mean, there's only so much you can take from a couple of GIFs on a website, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. My understanding is this will be open source. Toyota had an announcement. They had a whole presentation a couple months ago. I'm pretty sure it's going to be open source. I don't know if they say it on here. Fluorite is the first console-grade game engine fully integrated with Flutter using a Fluorite View widget for 3D scenes, C++ entity component system. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure if it's going to be open source or not. I thought it was, but I'm not seeing it on here. So yeah. It looked interesting. I'm definitely going to explore it whenever it comes out. I thought it would have been out by now because they announced it a few months ago, but I haven't seen anything on it, so I don't know. But I need a way that makes sense where if I define user actions, I need to bind it to like an event. So this would be like Something like that. So I could configure. Do I even need that? Does it let you do? Can I just do that? Yeah, because I think this just gives it a string to perform a lookup. I don't have to do that. So I could just do that. Except I'm not jumping in my aircraft. But you get the idea. So then here, it would be cool if fire is not an event keyboard, it's a it's an event mouse. Something like that. And then this would get loaded into some data structs, which I could then visualize in a game menu screen. And then, ooh. I would want to support serializing this data because the user's going to change the settings, save it. So I'm going to need to be able to reload that as well. But this should be possible based on what I'm seeing down here. I don't know what fighter is. Fighter is a prefab. Oh. So this is just a definition of a collection of components. So I can't do that here. So maybe it's just literally it's basically what I'm trying to do here. I want to do it automatically. Okay, so what I would need is an action map struct that might just be there to tag things. I'm just going to use it as an entity that represents any of its children is an action. I'm going to need an action. Oh man, how am I going to do this? Maybe it's just like this. So you say a position component and assign it data. So I want event component and I need to assign it data. But my event, this is what I'm not 100% sure is going to be possible. My event is a standard variant. Does Flex support loading and storing a struct as a variant component? That I'm not sure it can do. Another option would be to just store all of these enums, because that's what these are. This is an enum. This is an enum. 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 Store it all in a single enum. It'd be cool if I didn't have to write custom types just to support parsing, though. That's kind of my end goal here is I don't have to write any custom code to handle configuration. I want to focus more on the game dev. You good? Okay. He was snoring weird. How would that even work? Prefab. This would just be a generic entity. Component. Hey Jan, how's it going? It's been a while. It's been a minute. You're not wrong. I didn't stream this weekend. I was busy this weekend. I oh, a couple of things happened. I'm trying to think. What happened? Why was I busy? I played a game with a friend all day Saturday. And it was like a Escape from Crimson Manor or something like that. It's like it's like an escape room style game where you both have to work together to help each other solve puzzles to get out of each other's room and then eventually escape the mansion. That was a lot of fun. I ended up trading I had a little minis forum PC. I ended up trading it for this because I've been talking about wanting to support the Steam Deck with my game. So I figured I was going to need a Steam Deck to test my game on. So I was able to get that. So I didn't have to worry about trying to purchase the new $300 increase to the Steam Decks that are out there. This is just the I think this is just like a 256 gig LCD screen version, so it's an older one. I'll probably upgrade the solid state drive at some point. Would that be worth showing on stream at all? Showing people how to modify or like upgrade your components? I don't know. I might just do it. So I did that Saturday. What did I do Sunday? I was just busy. I went and saw the Mortal Kombat movie. The Mortal Kombat movie was pretty cool. A little silly. There wasn't much of a story, but the fight scenes were cool. It was very nostalgic. I'm trying to think. Are all of these components? All of these are components and they are entities. So you have components, a prefab. That's an entity. Okay. So maybe I can't nest as much as my parent, my child. An entity is created by specifying an identifier followed by a scope. Okay. So that means this is an entity if it's followed by a scope brace. But what about components? Oh, my back itches. Pairs are added to entities by adding them to an entity scope, just like tags. Likes pizza. Okay, here we go. Components are specified like tags, but with an additional value, colon. Okay. So this would be a component. Ooh. Okay, so I need to test this. I think we just need to test a simple script and see if we can get this to work. I have an idea on how we can test this. Oh, yes, I did see Project Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary was fantastic. It was hilarious. It will make you cry, and it was a fun movie. It was a lot of fun, and I never once, like, sometimes movies like those, they're sometimes a little drawn out, or you get lulls in the movie where things are kind of slow. But I never felt that with this movie. This movie was really, really well done. Really enjoyed it. All right, so I think the best way to test this, because there's just a lot going on here, and I like to keep my thoughts simplified. So I think what I want to try and do is maybe just comment all this out and only do the pieces I need. I think I need this. How's it going? Oh man, is it reading my mind? Is it reading my mind here? Also, I figured out how to fix my frickin' language server. I don't know why the Microsoft IntelliSense one wasn't working with VS Code and the modules, but I swapped it back to Clang D, and now it's working again. Okay, so I register position. I call script run position, and we will see. I wouldn't expect this to work. So let's define, if I understood the API correctly, let's define an entity. Entity. This gets a colon. I think these get colons as well. What did that file look like? Yeah, you assign colon, comma. Okay. Colon, comma. I'll leave the comma there. So this is an entity, this is a component. So then what I should be able to do is call dot lookup entity get position. I don't need to error check. Are you kidding me? I know what I'm doing. I never check for errors. I just write perfect code. All right. We need to include print. And then compile it first try. Come on, first try. Dang it. Wait, is it not like that? Oh, it takes a name followed by a script. Okay. Let's give it a name. Script. What am I doing? Good evening, people. On line 48 in main CPP, use constexpr. I think I know what you're seeing. Apologies. I think I know what you are seeing. So, okay, so I have the code commented out right now. You notice how that colon doesn't exist anymore? So you're talking about, and I don't even think I can highlight it. Yeah, I can't highlight it. So you're talking about this colon const int. So that's Clang D. I have an extension called Clang D from VS Code. When I install that, it automatically downloads the Clang D tool, which is a C, C++ LSP. So it's a tool that provides syntax highlighting, code navigation, auto completion, code formatting, that kind of thing. And so because I am using auto, it it, it inserts what my types are inline based on what it's able to deduce, so I can still see the information. Honestly, a little annoying. I leave it alone because I don't feel like messing with the settings, but a lot of the times I don't really need that information. But that's what you're seeing. So like even on line 317 here, how it shows name colon x comma pointer colon position. So it's just letting you know what the parameter names of the function you're calling is, without you having to like right click, go to definition, and see that it takes a name and a pointer. It just puts it in line for you. Do I know JavaScript or Lua? I know a little bit of JavaScript. I have professionally, I have done a lot of Qt development, and more recently, QML. So that's Qt Quick, Qt Declarative, and it uses its own like in-house scripting language that was basically built on top of JavaScript. So I know some JavaScript from that. I wouldn't say I am a expert JavaScript developer. I will say JavaScript is a pain in the butt because you don't know what the types are at all ever, and the code will still run. So that's a little annoying. But I don't know Lua at all. Type inference. That might be the word for it. You might be right. Okay. Did that compile? Treated as an error. Oh, you cannot include print 7. Okay, there we go. So if this works, in fact, let me build this in debug so I can step through the code. I want to debug. Okay, so we register the position. We run the script. We get the position. Oh my god, I think it's actually working. Look at that. We have 10 and 20. That's awesome. Okay, so that works. I mean, we knew that worked. That was already working. I just wanted to make sure being able to run a script without um, loading a file would work, because then we can test the more complicated situation using standard variant. We'll see how that works. I have not tried. That's not true. I have used standard expected, but not like professionally. I've only done it in some toy projects. So I would not say I am an expert on like the best practices for using standard expected, but I definitely want to get better with it. How's it going, Steve? I am not saying the first part of your name. Okay, let's get fancy with it. We're gonna use a variant, and let's see if this works. So, oh man, how would we even begin? Let's say I have a position, a velocity, sure, an acceleration, and these all have the same exact parameters. So this is an easier case that might work, and we'll call this using kinematics equals standard variant position velocity acceleration. If we can get this to work, holy shit. We will register the types like we normally would. Now, what's interesting, do I need to register the kinematics type as well? I think I do because it's going to be a component, but it's not going to have a member variable. Because what I want to do is say kinematics and then assign it data, but it's not going to know what data to assign to it. So I don't actually expect this is going to work. Kinematics. How am I going to do this? What's the recommended age someone should start coding? I don't know. Whenever you want to, I guess. I don't think coding has an age requirement. What will I do in C++? You're kind of looking at it. I'm going to use the scripting language for configuration. I still plan on writing the actual game logic in C++. I definitely want to do that. A little easier for me to control the state of how the code's going to be ran and laid out in memory, that kind of thing. But I'm not going to deny there is definitely a benefit to being able to dynamically add and remove lines of script while the application is running and see state change. I think that'll be useful. Having never written a game before, maybe it's not, but I think it'll be useful. Best extensions, like for VS Code? For C++, definitely Clang D or Clang Formatter. Being able to auto format your code, that's kind of a must. Like, I don't want to stress about tabs and spaces in my code base. I just want it to work. If this actually works, I will be impressed. I feel like I would have to tell Flex. No way. If I say 200, did I run the wrong executable? Okay. Whew! I ran the wrong executable. I was expecting it to like crash or something, not actually work. Yeah, there it is. You guys don't see it. Hang on. Desktop, background, desktop. This is what I was expecting. Okay, so that definitely does not work. No, you're allowed to ask. I know people are coming and going and they don't see it. I can show you real quick. I am trying to make a game called Briarthorn. I do technically have a website for it. There's not a whole lot there, but I did implement a demo. Also, the website has my live stream up whenever I'm streaming anything with the Briarthorn title in it, which I think is kind of cool. I did that. I was pretty proud of getting that set up. And then if I'm not streaming, then this goes away. So this is very, very bare bones because there's not a lot of detail here yet. But it's either going to be a turn-based tactical RPG or RPG-ish, RPG light maybe, because I'm a solo developer that's working like 2 hours every other day on this. If I was building an actual RPG, this wouldn't get done for another 7 years. Or maybe even just like a real-time roguelite, so you're literally flying your aircraft from this HUD, and basically fighting enemies and utilizing like offensive abilities, defensive abilities. I am at least picturing flying 4 different types of aircraft. So we're talking, and I lay it out on the website here, I think. Uh yeah, so this is all like maybes, right? So you can picture like an RPG, you have a class, right? One of the classes is called Jet, versatile and adaptive, equally dangerous up close or at mid-range, built to handle whatever the scope throws at it. Thunder, big, powerful, and loaded, dominates mid to long range with the heaviest, most capable weaponry in the sky. This one I am super excited to try and implement because I think it'll be cool, at least what I'm picturing, and that is Swarm, a dynamic network of drones shifting between aggressive and defensive formations to control the engagement on your terms. And then finally Ghost, fast and nearly invisible, you won't know where it is until it's already struck. So like I'm picturing almost this only shows one aircraft, but I'm almost picturing this as like party based. So being able to control all 4 of the classes and then kind of cycling through them to pick and choose which one you want to use for an engagement. And then so like I'm also envisioning Swarm, this network of drones, being able to like transform into defensive maneuvers where it will like spread out and surround the other players and then like rotate around them to like absorb weapon attacks, things like that. And then Swarm isn't defeated until all of the drones are dead. But if like any drones survive, kind of like Cell from Dragon Ball Z, it can regrow. So I have these grand ideas, but it's going to be a lot of work. And I'm only spending maybe 10 hours a week tops on this at the moment. And so I scripted this up in Godot. I'm not going to pull it up. I don't think it's in a good state. But I scripted this up in Godot, and now I want to port it over into C++. So that's what you guys are stumbling upon me doing right now, is exploring what my core architecture of my game is going to be. Is it going to be an entity component system? Is it going to be using something like Slint here, which is this application framework written in Rust, but allows me to do the scripting I need? Do I use Qt, which is what I'm very familiar with and probably the quickest path towards a game? Do I write everything completely from scratch, which is probably not what you should do, and will result in just terrible code that I have to keep maintaining and refactoring? Or do I use something else? So that's where I'm at with all of this. And you guys get to watch me struggle as I try and figure out what I want to do. Also, day 1 of asking Monster to sponsor me. Yes, it would be top down 2D from the perspective of. So what this is called, if you guys aren't familiar, this is a tactical situation display. So basically like your radar display, but like you would have the option to see all these tracks, like all the enemies out there. And what this doesn't show you is what isn't out there, or what is out there but not in your field of view or not within your radar's capability. So you could have a like you could think of the main bad guy of this entire game, right? Super stealthy. He sends waves of enemies at you. You see the enemies. They're like the putty men from Power Rangers. I'm aging myself. But he sends like enemies out, right? That you're able to see. Your radar is able to pick up. But the main bad guy, his capabilities is way more advanced. So did you manage to defeat the previous levels and upgrade your gear to increase your radar capabilities in order to find this guy before he blows you out of the sky? You know, things like that. Or maybe there's like SAM sites, like maybe the battlefield is laid out to try and like just completely destroy you. So you have missiles flying at you, you have to duck and dodge. Maybe I add like landmarks or something you can fly behind to avoid getting shot. You know, the options are endless, so I have to find a way to scope it down for one guy to implement the game and get it out the door. So I have all kinds of ideas. I don't know what direction I'm going to take with it yet. But right now, step one, I need to figure out if how much of this I want to write from scratch and how much of this I want to borrow or pull in from like third-party libraries or frameworks that isn't Godot. I know I don't want to use Godot. Register the component explicitly. In newer Flex versions, non-trivial types... Ooh, what is that trying to say? Why can't I scroll over? What are you trying to say? Non-trivial types often auto-register, but explicitly calling or setting up hooks ensures absolute safety. Wait, types automatically register? Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, KBM. I'm not. I don't consider myself a game dev yet because I've never made a game. I have tinkered with like game engines. I've explored like parts of implementing a game. I've done like simple physics systems. I've done renderers. I've done a custom entity component system before. So like I'm familiar with all the different pieces that you could implement for a game. But I've never made a game because I like you, I kind of I get distracted. I get distracted in the learning and I enjoy the tinkering and the building of these components just to understand how they work versus actual like game design and implementing an actual game. I have ideas for the game, but there's no guarantee that I am able to make it fun. So we'll see. Worst case scenario, I get to sit here and talk C++ with you guys, and maybe we can share some knowledge with each other. Because I also like teaching. I also like helping others learn. It's what I enjoy about my job is anytime I have team members working for me or with me, then, you know, we get to share some knowledge. I don't know what this is. Component with life cycle. Wrapping the variant inside a structural component is highly... So maybe this is what I need to do. Warrior Mage. So does Flex let you define... Can I assign a component? Oh, I mean, if I can do this, maybe I can. Hang on. Let's try... Position. Can I do this? I appreciate it, KBM. I do have music playing on Twitch. I fear Big Brother YouTube when it comes to putting music on YouTube. I don't know what I can and can't do, and so I at the moment until I make myself a little smarter about how YouTube handles playing music, I am avoiding it. Okay, that crashed. It did not like that one bit. I probably just need to break down and find some like DMCA free music and play it on YouTube. But I want to listen to like enjoy like music I enjoy listening to. So I'd still want to listen to what I'm listening to now on Twitch. So I know you can do this. I know how to do that, but how do you do that in a script? No, that's not what I want. I might not be able to do this. Attack type. Query. No. Okay. So it doesn't look like, I mean, there might be a way, and maybe I just don't know how to do it. Does that do anything? Crash. What am I crashing on? Retry to debug the application. All right, let me run it in debug and see what happens. Maybe I'll figure out what the what's being thrown. Invalid parameter with entity get ID. Okay, so I'm performing a lookup on entity, but then when I call .get kinematics, it's invalid because this is almost certainly failing to parse. Okay. How do you open a browser in VS Code? I just do Control P and then start typing browser. Nope, sorry. I just lied to you. It's Control Shift P, and then I start typing browser, and then it's just open integrated browser. VS Code supports it. The one thing that I've found that VS Code doesn't support with the browser is video playback. So whatever codecs or multimedia layer required to play video embedded, VS Code doesn't have, or I don't have turned on, or I don't know. I haven't dug into it. But other than that, it's worked pretty well. The only other thing I could maybe try I can make this a data property and see if Flex even supports registering it. Because if it does, then that tells me Flex should be able to support it. And if that works, then what I should be able to do is something like data position. Something like that. If that works, holy shit, that would get me what I need. Crap. Unknown member data for type kinematics, which tells me this failed. Serializer, missing reflection data for type. Maybe I can custom register. Maybe it's in the quick start. Is there like I'm looking for the meta, because Flex comes with like reflection. No. Meta. Flex reflection framework. Collaboration diagram for meta. Add-ons. Okay. Okay. That's the API. I need examples. Wait, do I have to import it? That doesn't sound right. Oh, we are definitely overcomplicating this. Honestly, I probably don't need the scripting language to begin with, but I am curious if I can figure it out. Because what I would like to do in my code, I use, instead of using like pointers or polymorphism or virtual inheritance, what I'm doing is, and specifically for my events, where did I put that? UI? No, it's right here. My events are a collection of structs that I define as a variant. So my event type is a event keyboard, mouse, gamepad. Now what I would like to do is use an action system here that basically defines like, hey, jump or shoot, fire, basically something that maps to a keyboard, controller, what have you. And I want to be able to say, hey, and I do it here in main. I just commented it out. But I want this to be scriptable, where I can say, hey, create a jump action and use my event keyboard key pressed with the spacebar as the action for jump. And then for shoot, it's going to be a mouse pressed for the button left. And so it would be cool if I could use this without having to write additional code to automatically handle like configuring this for using Flex with the Flex script. But my guess is Flex doesn't support CPP variants. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like just about any game engine's input system. Yep. Godot does it as well. Probably like one of the lower priorities when it comes to like trying to build a game. Because really, I think the highest priority is seeing if you can figure out what you need to do to make the game fun. But that's okay. I was just seeing if this would be possible, and I don't think it either isn't or I don't know how to make it possible. It feels like I almost need like a way to translate the variant to a specific, or a specific type to a variant. sometimes, not always, especially with a third-party library, but sometimes the AI can give you an answer. Can I use standard variant with flex script? Oh. Ew. Yeah, this isn't gonna work. Almost any C++ type. Almost. Yeah, input systems can be difficult. I'm hoping my game isn't so complicated I need anything crazy. I just want to be able to configure it. I want to be able to tweak and adjust. Because I feel like you always hear the last 10% of whatever you're making takes 90% of the time. I'm trying to set myself up for success during that phase where you're going to have to adjust parameters, tweak values, change colors, those kinds of things. And I want to make that as painless as possible and as quick to do as possible. Which is honestly why I'm wondering, like, I keep thinking and I keep going back to using something like Slint or Qt Quick, where they already have all of that built in. And it is tempting. Slint requires Rust, the Rust compiler and cargo, but there's something to be said about being able to like change the values and have it and have see it visually change. This will not be an entity component based system, but that's okay. I don't need an entity component system at all. My game isn't running like hundreds of thousands of entities. I'm not doing like an RTS or anything like that. So performance, I am not worried about performance. I think as long as I can, run it on this guy right here, I think we'll be sitting good. So performance really isn't an issue. It might have an entity inspector. I know it has a website for its scripting language, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't remember where that was though. Designing with Flex, getting started with Unreal. Apparently, yeah, like Flex is supported with these other engines as well. Hey, Flex with Raylib. That's what I'm doing. Entire shader reload system because you were fed up with reloading your application. Oh my gosh! See, you're already ahead of me. I've written a handful of shaders in my career, and none of them were anything crazy. It was all just like, ignoring some pixels or changing the colors of some pixels or transforming a vertex here or there. But I've never done anything complex. It's something to be said with how easy it is to get a UI up and running with a declarative language like this. And I would still write my game in C++, but the visual elements of it could be built using this, which would include input configuration. And then data would still get serialized and loaded. So I would still use like JSON or binary to do that, or binary JSON. Something that supports easy versioning, I think. So tempting. I think the big problem I'm running into with Flex script is it's not like so well supported that there are language servers for it, and the extension for it with syntax highlighting is like 4 years old. It's out of date. And the documentation isn't great. Prefab variants? Is this what I want? This isn't what I want. This is just literally different ways to use prefabs. Anime stylized sky shader. That sounds pretty cool. Is my cat here? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, come here. No, is it time to feed you? What time is it? Ooh, I haven't fed my cat. I'm gonna use the bathroom, feed my cat, and I will be right back. Come on. Well, if we can't use variants, we could still achieve what I want. We just have to like define a different type, right? So let's say I have an entity that represents my action map. So I would need then to... I could still support generic entities, a generic entity being like an action, but then I could use different components, right? So instead of using like the event component straight up, I could just have a name component and call it jump. I could have a event keyboard component. And what would it be? It would be type pressed key space, something like that. I'd have to and because these are like generic entities, they could have their own components under this. So now shoot would become name shoot event event mouse type press button left. So I could do something like this. Except this would be lowercase because it would be a property. Key. Oh my god, this autocomplete. It wants to help me out so bad. It won't stop. Oh my god. Just hold the project in my head. You're not wrong. I never did buy more bread, so I'm still eating peanut butter buns. So I think I do something like that. I should go buy bread. I think this is the last. I think it's my last bun too. So this is an entity. I would loop over its children to get these entities. These entities have a component called action with a name and a component for the event. And then I just use that. Oh man, I think this will work. Buffer's onto something. I need to get more buns because I'm out of bread. Man, I think this will work. Because then I can collect that action map, which would basically replace. Where is it? It would replace this here. So then I still collect my input events. And then I would use that action map collection of entities to translate them into actions. So I can still do that. I don't know if Flex supports enum serialization. Yep, multiple keybinds for the same action. I definitely would support that. So basically, because this is using an entity component system, I could foresee doing something like this as part of the configuration. What would be a we'll just say right. So I could foresee doing something like that and collecting the components. Did that not compile? Okay, so here we would look up the action map and we would call dot children. And those children are the actions. And then in actions, oh shoot, yeah, we can just. So for each action, we would get its name, and then we would see if it has a keyboard event or a mouse event, and then that would be the trigger. No matching overloaded function. Is this not right? Is this not return an entity? It returns an entity. Am I doing this wrong? Oh. Is it not like being const? Turns an entity, then I call dot children on it. No matching. It's just an entity. That's not a pointer or anything. Should you watch me code if you are new to coding? That is a great question. I don't know. I think it's worth tuning in when we start talking some good need to know types of stuff, which is kind of where my YouTube shorts are coming from. I also think there's a lot more advanced stuff that I'm doing that might be a little too much. I've got some fairly complex project setup configuration going on with CMake and dependency management that I wouldn't necessarily expect someone new to learning C++ need to focus on. So that might get a little confusing. What I'm doing right now, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just learning. Well, actually, this would be a good time to tune in because you're watching me learn someone else's code base and trying to figure out how I want to use it for my code base. And so this is kind of how I go about learning new libraries, new APIs. I sit here and stare at it and cuss and struggle and stare at it some more and then give up and then come back a couple days later and try it again, give up, try it again, and then cry myself to sleep. But then eventually I figure it out. And because I eventually figure it out, I know that, and so I know not to really give up. Because I will figure this out eventually. I don't know why this is being a jerk, but it is being a jerk. Entity view, no matching overloaded function found. I could have sworn I could call. Can I not call e dot children? I can. Does lookup not return an entity? This is the only function called lookup. It returns an entity. Is dot children not const? No, it's const. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, is it expecting a function, a lambda? I thought I could just get all entity children. Uh, this makes it look like I can't just get all entity children. It looks like I have to pass in a function to determine which children to get. Oh, it's not even doing that. I pass in oh. If the entity has an action, it goes into my action list. It also helps, the way I go about doing this, it helps like being able to read other people's code bases, right? So as soon as I saw that this took a template type named func, like I am familiar with seeing this pattern in C++ code bases. It's a pretty good pattern to use for performance reasons versus like passing in a standard function kind of thing. So as soon as I saw that, I realized I needed to pass in a lambda. So that's good. Now I need to figure out what else is broken. Shave his belly with a rusty razor for lie in the morning. Yeah, I don't think this works. Magic enum not standard visit, no matching overloaded function found. That is horse donkey. The only thing I could think is this might not work if the type is event mouse. Yeah, this might not work. I might have to be explicit. So this needs to be like, come on. This needs to be, what does this need to be? This needs to be like, failed to find, I don't know, something like that. I don't even know if that'll compile. But that's okay, because I need to handle the explicit types. There we go. Cool. Autocomplete, go. Do it. Do it, you won't. There it goes. All right, I'm getting real fed up with these compile errors. Standard visit, no matching overload found. Oh, wait a minute. This isn't right. I'm being dumb. You guys are letting me be dumb. I'm not using a variant for this. I'm using the event struct directly. So all of this was just completely wrong, and you guys let me do it. I blame you. Should have been this. Stupid autocompletes. Hey, how's it going? You are joining me at a time of exploration and struggle. First try. Ooh, that failed miserably. Missing reflection data for action name. Is that true? That's a freaking lie. Missing. Oh, wait a minute. You don't use a comma here. I think that's what's wrong. I am in the process of figuring out how I want to handle project configuration for a video game. Son of a biscuit. Um, I have already see if I still have the website up. I don't. I need to have this website open at all times, I think. I have already scripted a game demo in Godot. I have a website, if I know how to spell it, called briarthorn.game. So top down, 2D, tactical maybe, roguelite maybe, RPG maybe, fighter, aircraft, something. That's about all I can tell you. Um, but I scripted that up in Godot as kind of a quick and dirty demo. Now I'm wanting to actually implement it, but I want to use C++ or more C++ than what Godot has given me. So you're watching me build this up with currently Flex, an entity component system that supports scripting its components, which would be cool for project configuration and building out game levels. We'll see. Oh, hey, Penny. Do I have open YouTube chat and Twitch chat separately? Ooh, no, I don't. I am looking at one screen. So if YouTube talks to me and it's not coming through, I do completely miss it. But I don't think I'm missing anything yet. So if I miss your messages, I apologize. I'm still learning. I don't have a third monitor. I think maybe eventually once I get a third monitor, I'll just have like everyone's chats open on one monitor and I'll just look at that. But right now I got like a little window that has everything integrated because I'm using a I forget what I'm using. I'm using something called Social Stream Ninja to combine all the chats. Okay, so it cannot resolve member name even though I register. Check out Chatterino. I'll look it up. I'm not I have not settled on any one solution yet. I've gone through like 3 different chat integrations at this point. Multiple types of plugins and stuff for OBS. Still trying to figure it out. All right. I don't know why it's yelling at me about action name. I would have expected that to work. So I think what I need to do is simplify the problem and see if I can get that to work. So if I do world.script run and I create an entity and I give it an action component, what I would expect then script run, we have an entity component, or we give it an action component and assign it name jump. Screw this game. 6 4K monitors, 3 for programming, 2 for gaming, and 1 for Discord, and make it all different shades of whatever that color is. I did I did have back in the day, I had 3 1080p monitors all mounted, and I had, oh my gosh, what was it? 2 GTX 6 NVIDIA GeForce 680 GTX, I think. I had that in SLI configuration. I bought them used on eBay. And I wired them up. I used NVIDIA had a configuration that turned your 3 monitors into a single display. So I wired all that up, and then I had Skyrim running on all 3 displays, and it was the coolest thing ever. It was hard to play that way, but it was really cool. All right. Why is programming so dumb? What am I doing wrong? That should be like really straightforward. I'm not even doing anything crazy. I register an action. It has a name member. Unknown member name for type action. Am I spelling it wrong? Action. I have been known to spell things wrong. Action. Do I? Ooh, wait a minute. Do I need to, surely not. I don't need to include string. Surely not. Okay, so what's going on here? What is this called? How do I... Flex script. I am literally doing this. Right? Aren't I? I am literally doing this. The amount of time and effort it's taken me to just figure this out is really making me think I should just give up and use like Slint. Slint might be the answer. Because then all I would have to do is integrate. I could use SDL3 gamepad, integrate that with Slint. And then everything else I would just do myself, I think. I'd have to integrate Steam, obviously. I mean, I was going to have to integrate Steam no matter what. Why is this not working? I'm literally doing what... The S in C++ stands for struggle. You're not wrong. Hey, old school coder, how's it going? Thank you for the raid. Really appreciate it. Oh God. How's it going? I wish you would have raided when I was like doing something really cool and not when you guys are watching me bang my head against the C++ API. All right, I'm not doing something stupid like building it in release and running it in debug, right? Nope, I'm definitely not. I'm just being dumb. I mean, yeah, we'll definitely have a stream on integrating Steam. That will happen Someday. I need to get a game up and running first. How's it going, Sorcy? Sorcy? Apologize for the pronunciation. Okay. This should work. I'm not being dumb. C++ is being dumb. It's not me. All right, let's simplify the problem more. We'll just narrow it down to exactly what I need. You know what? Let's also not import just in case, like, if I'm importing something that's, like, causing some name clashing, we can eliminate that as an error. What the frickin' frick? Missing reflection data for type basic string. Oh. Are you kidding me? Flex doesn't handle standard string by default? No way. Saucy. Okay. Fair enough. How's it going? Apparently, Flex doesn't handle basic string? What? That's fair. Flex is written in C. C++ is just a wrapper around it. Interesting. Let me try that. We'll see if that's correct. So it's saying I need to do. Wait, what did it say? I already forgot. I literally looked at it and then I immediately forgot. Okay, so it's saying I need to do it like this. Standard string name. The struggles of learning someone else's API. Flex is pretty new. Well, okay, so Flex is... I don't know how old Flex is, but it is extremely well supported. Maybe not extremely. It's well supported. It has 8.4K stars. It was last updated 3 hours ago. I do know it's like being used by I would say maybe not a AAA game, but a AA game in Tempest Rising, and then some of these other games. Like, it is being used. Now, I don't think my game will be. That looks cool. Hey, this is using an aircraft, so like there's proof it works with aircraft, right? Whoa. Who what does that even mean? Probably fed dinosaurs. Rude. Okay, so the AI, the Google AI is clearly wrong as well. Do I have to do it like this? There's no way. Ooh. Wait a minute. So, can I use vector or other types inside components? Good save. I have fed a bird before. I'm like, dude, I just want to use... All right. It's time to bring out the big guns. I can also look and verify that Flex GitHub doesn't have a like examples for like STL types. I have to define. Okay, so this is kind of what I was looking for. I have had to do this before with other like serialization libraries where you sometimes have to define like a translation layer to go from one type to a type that that serialization library supports. So I'm curious if the LLM here will come up with this solution where I need to define like a way to translate from like a char star to a string or something like that. So that's interesting. So this needs to get defined first. Oh my gosh. Wait a minute. That means if I can do this, maybe I can use that variant solution after all. Yes. I don't know. After all that, I kind of like the other solution I came up with, which is just use components. Use the components directly. But if I, oh man, if I can use a variant solution though. So GitHub has recently updated its usage policy for AI, and the fact that this is still running probably means I have just consumed my entire month's use of AI in one prompt. So after this, guys, it's just pure raw programming. And it's the first day of the month. 217 kilobytes is quite small for having a full C++ layer. Let me check if there's... Yeah, I honestly don't know what's going on. My suspicion is with GitHub Copilot, a lot of people were taking advantage of just being able to, with like a couple of sentences, being able to run a ton of agents at the same time, which was causing a lot of, server costs. But I can only guess. I have no idea how all that stuff's working under the hood. Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. This isn't this list isn't anything in particular. It's based off of a oh, there is a YouTube singer. I don't actually know if she's a YouTube singer, but a singer, an artist named Alina Gingertail, and she did like music covers of some RPGs I like, one being Baldur's Gate 3, which I really liked. So I always just pull her up and shuffle the radio station with her, and this is what we get, and it kind of turns out really well. Nothing like very soothing, nothing too distracting while I code. All right. Oh, it might be onto something. It might be figuring it out, guys. I think it just figured it out. It has everything it needs. Oh, it's changing my file. Oh, it figured it out. I mean, I found it faster, so I beat. Let it be known, I found the solution quicker than the LLM, even though it may have written it before me. But I was waiting. And all it cost was $10.99. And you're not wrong. LLMs, I don't like I'm not even talking about vibe coding, but just having the ability to like debug, run a bunch of scripts to get your code compiling. Um, what else? Just general like problem solving and googling. So everything I would have done and what I used to do in the past. So like I grew up in the age of Stack Overflow, and I experienced the pain everyone else did using Stack Overflow, which is you go on there, you can't find an answer to your problem, so you write up a really nice description of your problem, everything you tried, and they close your post because it was duplicated. It wasn't duplicated. The answer I needed did not exist. So then you reopen it, and then you get flamed. And it's like, what the hell, guys? I'm just asking a question. I don't know the answer to this. How do I use Boost? You know, how do I use Boost ASIO to get to like a multi-threaded UDP TCP solution going, and then you just get trashed on. You just get trashed. And now like that issue didn't go away. Like developers have questions. They have questions on APIs, third-party libraries out there that are well used and poorly documented. So there are people that exist that are really good with those APIs. Like I would be able to answer questions for Qt, for instance, that might not be documented because I've had my head in the code base for years, right? So there are experts out there that probably has come across your problem. And so being able to ask someone and get an answer is huge. It saves so much time and money until they flame you. And then you don't get your question answered because you worded it wrong or you accidentally misspoke or used the wrong vocabulary words. Well, now all I have to do is say, hey, copy and paste my error into a prompt, and boom, it found it. It literally found it. Now, obviously, in this situation, I knew because I have some experience with Flex. I knew to go to GitHub, go into its examples, read the code, right? But maybe you're a newer guy. Maybe you're not as familiar with GitHub. Maybe you're not as familiar with reading other people's code bases. And all you have to do is be like, hey, I got an error. Boom, there's your problem. That's addicting. That 100% is addicting. I don't know if I want to go back to Stack Overflow because of how, like, even when you do manage to get your question answered, it's like weeks, if not months ahead or like later, and you've already moved on because your job requires you to move on. You can't just sit there and wait 3 months to solve a problem. So you have to work around. You have to come up with something else. So I definitely can't go back to that. So from that perspective, LLMs are highly addicting. Oh yeah, it's voodoo magic when you don't understand what's going on, but when you do understand what's going on, it's such a huge like force multiplier. I can get so much more done so much more quickly, especially when it's like code that I have already written before or I've written time and time again, so I know exactly how I want it written. Well, then it gets to a point where I just describe a couple of markdown files that correctly explains how I want my code written, how I want it styled, how I want it formatted, tested, etc. It's just so powerful. Now, this is coming from someone who hasn't had to work with younger people or inexperienced people also generating a bunch of code, so I haven't been responsible for what they are producing. I imagine that would become a challenge, but even then, like from a business perspective, I'm just setting up like policies and processes to make sure, everyone's adhering to them. Maybe some training, that kind of thing. But even before LLMs, I was still training. I was still teaching the newer people like how we should be writing code, that kind of thing. That doesn't go away just because we have LLMs. All right. Anyway, all of that so that I can use standard string as a type. So this is saying take the string data as a C string and then treat it as a flex string. And then when I'm reading the data from a C string, store it as my standard string. So now this should work. Question mark? Please? This is huge. If I can define my own serialize functions for custom types, I'll literally be able to do whatever I want. I'll literally do whatever I want. I could I could make a game and run the game by loading the file. So not like load the file and run the game. I mean run the game while the file is loading. And then when the file's done loading, the game is over. Oh man, is that a game idea? Oh, man, I don't know what kind of game you'd make out of that. You have to like beat the game before the file finishes loading. I mean, that's literally just a game, isn't it? Like you're just streaming the levels from disk while you're playing the game. I just invented video games. Okay. So let's make sure we can still do what I intended. So treat these as components, which means I can then define this as a list of actions. Video game TM. Okay. If I'm good at what I'm doing, then what should happen is we get an entity called action map who's going to have child entities called jump and shoot. And these child entities, jump and shoot, will have an action component and an event component, or multiple event components, that represent what can be used to trigger the action. Which means this guy here should get populated with 2 entities. Which means we will get 2 names followed by... Okay, this won't be quite right. We're specifically... Or no, per entity. No, yeah. 2 names. Okay, yeah. We're doing this. First try. After all these other tries. Shit. Unresolved identifier event keyboard. Wait, do I need the namespace? Surely not. That can't be right. I know I'm doing this wrong. I'm just guessing. Ladies and gentlemen, I can script an action map. And if I can script an action map, that means I can tweak and adjust game input without having to recompile over and over. Holy shit. That worked. Because then I can just feed this into my generator, because I am basically... So I collect user inputs, so raw inputs, keyboard, mouse, etc. I take those inputs plus the action map that I just parsed and turn them into actual like actions, game actions. So this basically defines the API of your video game. And then those actions get turned into commands. Commands is what's going to modify state, move, like tell your character to move, tell the aircraft to fire a weapon, uh, navigate an inventory system, that kind of thing. And then we update the game state, update UI state, play audio, etc., and then draw. And then we're done. That's it. That's a video game. Done. This was easy. God, video games are so easy. Do the Royal Navy ad, but for I don't even know what that means. Heck yeah. Okay. Now that I figured all this out, do I use Flex? Do I use Flex? The downside is I don't really get a lot of syntax highlighting and language server provider. Because I could do something very similar with the Slint or QML APIs. And that would just work out of the box. I'll definitely look up the ad. Royal Navy ad. I'll remember that. All right. This is good. I wasn't 100% sure I would be able to get this figured out tonight. Sometimes when it comes to programming, especially when you're like exploring other people's APIs, you know what? I think I'm done showing off code. But yeah, so sometimes like at least for me, I have an idea in my head on exactly how I want to like architect a project, how exactly I want to handle solving a problem, but I don't have experience with some of these third-party libraries, so I just literally don't know how to use them. I didn't know I needed to add a serialization layer for standard string when I'm so used to like APIs providing serialization for standard string. Though it kind of makes sense because under the hood of Flex is a C library which isn't aware of any STL types. So that makes sense. But it's still time consuming. And I'll be completely honest, if I wasn't like live streaming this, I probably would have used an LLM to ask for the answer a long time ago. But I did want to show like my normal process for figuring things out. Because I do think it's useful for people who are new to coding to kind of like see how I work through it, how I simplify the problem when something isn't working, how I read code, you know, that kind of thing. I do think that's worthwhile. I don't I don't think we learn a lot if you're just sitting there watching me like write English paragraphs poorly and then getting an answer, right? Now obviously I broke down at the end, but at least you kind of saw the process. Um so yeah. This is exciting because if I can script this, then the other, honestly, it wasn't even like input handling scripting that I really wanted. What I really am going to want the scripting for is level design. I want to be able to like place entities easily, script them in with like position values, what types they are. I'm not really looking to do logic, but being able to just like add and remove enemies, being able to change loadouts or define like their stats, being able to script all that in so that I can adjust it and tweak it. I think that's going to be huge, especially when it comes to like balancing gameplay. I think that's going to be important. Um, and then the other piece is UI and styling. So designing what the UI looks like, being able to define color, line thickness, things like that that you don't really like think about when it comes to building a game because you're more focused on the gameplay. It's all that stuff that comes at the end of making a game, the last 10% that takes 90% of the time. I want to make that as easy as possible. So that's why I'm like putting a lot of effort now into figuring out the like basically the core architecture of how I want to use the game. So is it going to be entity component system? Is it going to be something else entirely? Time will tell. I'm hoping. I don't know if I'll have the answer this week, but maybe by the end of next week. This is part of the process, just exploring what's in the realm of possibility. How like I'm even paying attention to how long it took me and how hard it was to figure out how to serialize and read a string, right? How like it took a couple hours because I started to stream a little after 5:30 and I'm only streaming, so like the stream's almost over. I only stream a couple hours a night, and so if I am dedicating 2.5, 3 hours every other night to building a game, I want to, and I'm not using Godot or Unreal or Unity, and I want to, and I still want to show off some C++ while I'm doing streaming. So that's why I'm C++. Um, I need to know what level of effort it's going to take to learn these APIs, because if I can figure out some of the hard stuff now and realize like, oh, okay, the rest is easy. Oh yeah, this is good. Flex will work. But if it was going to take me all night to figure out how to serialize a freaking string, that's when I start to question like, man, is this actually worth my time, or should I look at something else? So that's kind of where I'm coming from with this, because I don't. At the end of the day, I'm not too stressed about whether I make the game or not. It's more about just exploring, learning, writing some C++, yelling at it, hating it, punching my monitor, that kind of thing. It's all about that, right? Right? Yeah, it's all about that. So that's where I'm coming from. So this is huge progress. I was able to figure out how to use Flex to parse components, which will make the game configurable. I think that was the hard part. I already know how to use Flex in C++ code, so this is good. And if I wanted to, with Awin, the game engine portion of what I've been showing on stream, maybe I can port the Flex implementation stuff back into Awin. So as I'm building up the game, you guys still get maybe an open source GitHub project you can follow along. We'll see. It's all time dependent. Say no to LLMs. It's so addicting. LLMs are so addicting. Not even like I said, it's not even the vibe coding. It's just how quick and easy it is to get answers to the questions you have. That for me anyway. Now, if I got my code base written to a point where I like it, where I have a process for like adding a new game feature, like this is how you add a game feature. You're gonna create a module. You're gonna define the data for the game feature. You're gonna define how you're gonna visualize the data. Like if I define a number of modules myself that describes exactly how to do that, then yeah, it would be a lot quicker to have an LLM read the data structure, maybe have a markdown file that also describes how you write your code and test it, and then just say, hey, I need to shoot a missile and have it explode and animate the explosion using using particles or something like that, right? Yeah, 100% the LLM is going to be able to take what I have already written and align new code with it, and then I could just review it, kind of thing. I don't know if I'll ever get to that point. We'll have to see. But for now, the exploration continued and was successful. I have a little bit more exploration I think I'll do, but I am leaning heavily towards using Flex right now. Do I have an issue with contributors? I would hesitate to have contributors, mainly because if I am successful in making a game and releasing it, I don't want any legal situation, or honestly to feel like even just feel bad for profiting off of free contributors, right? So even if I make my the portion of the game open source that's like general, where anyone could use to make their own game. I don't know. Legally, I don't know. It feels weird. It's like using my viewers to build the game for me, which feels kind of gross. So I don't know. Yeah, yeah. If I made it rich and famous, I'd have no issue paying contributors. But I hold no illusion. I'm not making the next Stardew Valley. I'm making a fairly niche video game where maybe a handful of people might find fun, if I can even make it fun. So it's also just practice and an excuse to show off some C++ and talk C++. I mean, it doesn't have to be a game. It could be anything. It's just a game is something I've always wanted to try doing. But yeah. Okay. I think I am going to call it here. Tomorrow, I'm back to Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. And then Wednesday, we will be back to programming some more. Thursday, some more Baldur's Gate. And then Friday is usually my longer streams. That's really the opportunity to kind of get the head down and write some logic. So that's kind of where we're at there. Again, like I said, weekends are always up in the air. I was busy this past weekend. Maybe next weekend I won't be. And I'll either play a game or do something. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate you coming out. We had a really good showing today, which is very exciting. And I hope to see some of you tomorrow. Have a good night.